So, Friday morning, I've got my boys doing some work. They're starting our pool second wave of renovations, which is going to be the new lines for the jet and the filter, the return system. It's, shall I say, just grossly undersized. I got a 1.5 horsepower pump. Actually, down here you're looking, I've got put that in this morning. That's my converter to get 110, 220. Anyhow, a big jug of chlorine. So I've been working on this pool, and it's a bitch to vacuum right now because there's just no suction unless you plug everything but the skimmer port and use that as your vacuum port. I've got the bottom drain plugged, but to get an idea of how bad this was messed up, you can look at what they did. This is the line right here. It's a 1-inch line. So somewhere along there, we haven't quite got to the connection, but that 2-inch skimmer port and the drain port coming off the bottom of the pool is eventually necked down to this 1-inch line, which, you know, comes into the pool house here. So I've opened up my cavity for my new lines. So this is it running, right? So as you sit in here, electrical stuff switch is back there, but you can see that off the filter, got the 1-inch line coming in, and they bastardized this connection with 2-inch out of why, I don't know why they wouldn't use the right kind of pipe, but that's sewer pipe, right? How they made that thing stick, I have no clue, but they did, right? And then coming off the end, they did a similar thing, and they took it into a 1-inch return line. So, to fix this thing, I'll reconnect this 1-inch line, in here, but I also got to rejet a 2-inch line, both the return and the jet line going out there, and then add jets and, a new vacuum port and everything else on the what would be the south side of the pool down here. So we'll run 2 new lines. I've got another filter I'm going to put in line here, just a cartridge filter. And then we're going to come over to this location, and I'm going to put my valve bank in here. I'm going to put all my shut-off valves for, ends up being a couple drains. I'm going to put, actually, we're going to turn this into an infinity pool. That's the cool part about it. So we're going to use that edge as an infinity edge. Probably slightly raise this up a little bit and all around the edge of the pool. Make that our infinity drip edge. And I got to cut 3 return jets, a vacuum port. I got to put a infinity drain. I got to redo the skimmer, and I got to redo the main drain. They're all just grossly hosed up. That's putting it lightly. But once all this thing is redone, we're going to pour a wall then in front of here and kind of give this a little bit of a spillway. Once we got this thing all redone, repoured, there'll be a little pool down here, obviously. And yeah, this will be an infinity edge, water coming off. We'll chase this wall across to divide this pool out. I'm going to put a couple lights in, and I'm also going to run a fountain, well, not a fountain, but like a spillway feature up on that top of that wall. So we'll take that, actually poke that through the wall, come up the backside, and it'll sit right below the fence up there. It'll pour off into the pool as an added feature. So once we got all that done and the pool back in order, we'll have to empty it and then fill it back up one more time to make sure everything's working. And then when we decide we want to tile it, I'll probably have to retile this face because I'll have it a little bit butchered up from cutting new lines in. I'm going to tile that backsplash up there and all along here and kind of tie into what I'm going to do up here with the bar area. So yeah, that is the plan. So then eventually, once this gets done, we'll concrete this out over to here, turn this area into a flower bed or some shrubbery, something like that, to kind of make that area look a little cooler. That's the master plan, right? Master plan. Always something going on. I have not heard word on my roof yet, so I'm hoping that shows up next week. My party goers, Charlie showed up. He scrapped out some of my junk steel to get rid of that. I'm starting to clean things up a little bit. And he is doing the touch-up painting of the fence. So we've got just a few things like that to do. So today I gotta go shopping and get a metric shit ton of pipe to start repiping this thing. And yeah, there you have it. I'm gonna show you this pool construction. Yeah, it's built with block, if you can believe that. I guess as a civil engineer, I shudder just a little bit on how they construct this. There's easily 3 inches of superficial mortar or concrete or whatever they put under there. I don't know, but it obviously is all degraded and come off. That's probably mostly because that was probably where the pool was leaking so bad on the other side that we fixed and patched. So structurally, yeah, I'm gonna, like I said, pour a wall in front of that and kind of make a drip edge for this infinity pool as kind of a feature, and we'll reinforce that whole thing with some decent poured concrete. It's amazing though. I mean, you look at this edge. I mean, that thing is just perfectly straight, and for the most part, that is too. If you would see that before they face these, I mean, there's 4-inch block in there, and they just run strings and they'll face that thing. They'll spend more time facing it than laying the block. The block looks just like ass when they get done with it, usually. Shitty block. They'll fill them up with concrete, and they're good at running a mortared face on it. I mean, I don't know how they get it that straight. That would drive me nuts trying to do that. They do it, and that's how this pool edge got straight. You can see right there. This is where the wall was. This was all brought out for some reason to true it up, just to true it up. You got the impression that's the wall is a foot thick, which it is, but structurally, I don't know what, there's a block underneath there. First 3 inches are junk. You can see that. So, yeah. All right, I'm rambling. So, that's the progress of what the pool is going on. We'll see how things look next week. I vacuumed it again this morning. I got the water looking pretty decent considering how poorly this vacuum and pump system works. Like I said, I literally had to plug the bottom port off to get enough suction to get that vacuum to even work, but it is working well enough to clean the pool. So we have that going for us. Then I went into these things the other day just to see how this was actually laid out and designed, and it's simple. Water comes into this one here. That there pipe actually coming out here is a vent. There's an air vent for the tank, so that I'm going to hook it up to this, but it'll continue to serve as an air vent. And then each tank, all four of them, they're equalized to each other with a 1-inch pipe that runs up, flush with the floor. So in theory, that would make all the tanks, one. There would just be a kind of a sense of filtering, I guess, as it would go from one to the other. There's a fair amount of crap and sludge in all of them. So the plan is to go inside and to clean them. I'm going to use the same cementous waterproofing that I used on the pool, and then possibly we'll just paint that white with this elastomeric paint just so they're easy to look in and see. Otherwise it's dark brown instead of white, so white's maybe a little easier to really depict the water. Then I'm going to put a gauge out here, just a water gauge. I got some hose that I ordered, so I just put drill a hole in the tank and bring it up and bring it back in, so you got a sight glass, so to speak, to see how much water's in there. But right now they're empty, so it's telling me this thing just leaks profusely, and that's why this ground down here was so wet. In my opinion, that's just from leakage coming out of these tanks. So granted, it hasn't rained for a while, right, Coco? But it is leaky. Anyway, so it's Friday. I might have mentioned that already, huh? My days just all roll together. Let's show the view from up here again. It's the best view. I have to say, retirement is quite enjoyable. I do enjoy it. So you see over there that brown, that's that cemented stuff. That's what that looks like. And we had painted over this corner when we did the house painting, because there was a little bit of a leak coming in somewhere over here, and for some reason painted up there to there and stopped. But at some point we're going to come up here and paint roofs, do some work up here. That's down the line. So here's our structural system of our roof. All right, pretty cool. Pretty cool. Neighborhood cows, Ormoc, the port, the bay, all the things. There's some extra hardware. I guess we can pick that up. All right, I think I've rambled, said enough. So this is the end of week 9. Probably still have some shit going on tomorrow, but nothing of real significance that changed from today. So there we have it. Say goodnight, Dick.